Salve Discipuli. Alright, just want to start off by getting you guys prepared for the quiz that's coming on lesson 32. That's going to be on Monday. And don't forget, on Tuesday we will have the test over 29, 30, 31, and 32. Also, don't forget that by Monday you want to be able to let me know if you want to purchase a grammar chart for me. So let's talk about the format of the quiz. First of all, there will be vocabulary from lesson 32, just like we've done on the last three, or just like we've done on the last two lesson quizzes. I'll give you some form of the word, and you have to give me the entire dictionary entry. Please note that this time there are some nouns and verbs in the mix. You need to know the gender for the nouns, right, in addition to the whole entry, and for verbs you need to know all principal parts. Then after vocabulary, there's going to be a section that focuses on inquam, which is one of our new words, possum, which is another new verb, and infinitive forms. Okay, all of which are the main grammatical features of lesson 32. For inquam, I simply want you to be able to recognize the meaning, or know the meaning, which is to say, and be able to identify what the subject of inquam is. Inquam only has like what, 3 or 4 different forms. Check your text or your notes to remind you, but basically you only need to know how to translate those few forms. Okay, should be pretty easy. The endings are basically follow our typical rules for subjects of verbs. So for the possum section, you are simply going to have to be able to translate different forms of possum. I do not want you to spend a lot of time on tense. Okay, so don't worry too much about tense. There are much more important things. You will get like a fraction of a point for getting the tense correct, but the most important thing is to focus on the subject, which you can nail by looking at the end of the word, and the voice, which is always going to be active. Okay, that's another nice thing about inquam, the word we just talked about. That's always going to be active too. So in inquam and possum, you have 2 verbs that will always be active. So really, this is about nailing the subject and knowing the basic meaning of the word. All right. For the section on the infinitives, again, it's pretty straightforward. I will give you a few infinitives. You simply need to translate them. This should not be overly hard. We know the present active infinitive and the present passive infinitive. Those are the only 2 you've learned so far. So this should not be a very hard part of the quiz. I will choose infinitives that we've either recently learned or that are just really common verbs that you're going to know very well. Now, after the inquam, possum, and infinitive section, there will be there'll be a section with some very short sentences. Okay? And your job will be to translate a couple really, really short sentences. Again, I will try to draw the vocabulary from stuff we've seen very recently. All right, and that will be the entire lesson 32 quiz. That's it. We of course learned some derivatives this lesson, and we also talked a little bit about the gods and goddesses, the 12 Olympians. So be aware that they may show up as bonus questions. All right, now the last thing I want to do on this video is go over the sentences that you looked at in class today. So lesson 32C. And I'm going to color these and translate them for you. I have to take a few steps away from the computer, so hopefully you'll still be able to hear my voice. So starting with number 5, we end up with 2 main verbs, inquit and potere. We end up with 1 infinitive and portare. We end up with quis as a nominative and legatus as a nominative. Okay, so one of our clauses includes everything in the quotation. The other clause is right there. So we translate this. The lieutenant said, who of you all will be able to carry these letters to the commander? So basically, we end up with has literas as your accusative, and the real question was to translate portare or has literas first. Obviously, translate portare first works better. So that's number 5. Number 6 is really pretty straightforward. Pauci is nominative, multi is nominative, and you have your 2 verbs, aderant and aberrant. Pauci means few. So, few were present and many were absent. Note the difference between aberrant, which means absent, and aderant, which means to be present. There's your sentence. Number 7, consul is going to be nominative. Okay, we're going to have 2 main verbs, the debemus and inquit. We're going to have an infinitive in dis caetera. And the clause breakup is going to look like this. Consul and quibus are going to go with inquit, and all the quotation stuff goes together, which is very logical, very reasonable. So, the consul said to the citizens, we ought not to leave or depart from our office or from our duty. And there's your sentence. Number 8, we're going to have a main verb in invenero, and we're going to have a main verb in potero. We're going to have an infinitive in venire, and that should be it. So, oh, and an accusative with pecuniam. So, I will be able to come to your city tomorrow if I will have found money. That's kind of funny. I'll be able to come to your city tomorrow if I will have found money. Good luck with that, buddy. All right, next sentence. Usi sunt is your main verb. Contenere is your infinitive. Fugerunt is the main verb. So we've got 2 verbs. We must have 2 clauses. This one, punctuation, is going to help us out. Write a semicolon there. We're going to have equites as a nominative. We're going to have equos feros as an accusative. So the question will be, translate the infinitive or the accusative first? Which is it going to be? We'll have to figure that out. In the next clause, we're going to have pauci as a nominative. And that's really all we need to worry about. So, the cavalry were ordered to contain the ferocious or the wild horses. It's going to make a lot more sense to go infinitive, accusative. All right, the other way just doesn't work. A few of these, however, quickly fled to the fields. Okay, so some of the horses got away. All right, number 10. Principes is going to be our nominative. Quacti sunt is going to be a main verb. Pupieva is going to be a main verb. We got 2 verbs. That means we have 2 clauses. Okay? Qui is a relative pronoun that starts a new clause. So most likely we're going to be going from qui to a verb. That's a typical construction for a clause. We're going to have relinquere as an infinitive. We're going to have quitatem as an accusative. And within the relative clause, qui is nominative and novas res is accusative. Okay, so we color that entire sentence. So, let me just do the main clause. The leaders have been compelled to leave behind the city-state. Okay, now I'll retranslate it, including the relative clause. The leaders who desired revolution have been compelled to leave behind the city-state. All right, gentlemen, hopefully that's very helpful for you and you've learned from those sentences. Remember that when the test comes, you will have sentences based on sentences you've already seen. Not identical, but similar in structure and vocabulary. All right, Waleta. There is no other assignment for you other than to finish this video.